Hello again, friends. This is Dan once again, along with Coco the Wonder Dog, continuing a topic that we started in the last video called Superhuman Abilities Given by God to Normal Human Beings. Um, the last time we discussed three instances, Samson, Elijah, and Philip. Today I'd like to mention a few more examples. Now, in the last video we mentioned Elijah as having super speed when God allowed him to outrun Ahab's six-horse chariot before the rain really hit and would trap him. Elijah was then later taken up alive up into heaven and will come back as one of the two witnesses during the tribulation as mentioned in the book of Revelation. Now, during his earthly ministry, Elijah was able to call down fire from heaven, like when he confronted the prophets of Baal. But this time, he'll have fire come out of his mouth, kind of like a human torch. And he'll consume whoever tries to harm him. And the other prophet will be there. We are not sure who that is. Some say it's that other prophet is Enoch, since he never died. And they base that on the verse that says it's appointed unto man to die once. However, that's just stating a general principle. It's not a promise. I mean, we've got other examples. Lazarus died twice, as did many others that were raised from the dead. And those raptured will not die at all. So it's when it says it's appointed to man once to die, you can't base doctrine on that. That's just a general principle. Now, Enoch also, an argument against him being the other prophet is that he was not Jewish. And the two prophets will be warning people to repent near the temple. On the Mount of Transfiguration, had Jesus met with Elijah and Moses just before Jesus was to go into Jerusalem for the final week before his crucifixion. In addition, there's a weird incident mentioned in the book of Jude where Michael, the archangel, disputed with Satan over Moses' body. And then Moses' body was buried at a secret location. Why? I mean, normally, you know, you bury the body turns to dust. So why would Moses need to be buried in the secret location? Could be because his ministry is not done yet, and he may be the second witness, you know. So Paul displayed an aspect, this is another example, he displayed an aspect of vulnerability until God was ready to take him home. He was stoned to death at one point, it's mentioned in the book of Acts. And then when the brothers gathered around him, he recovered, rose up, and went back into the city to preach. No snowflake there. After Paul's shipwreck on his way to Rome, where he was to stand trial before Caesar, he was gathering wood for the fire on an island, I believe it was Miletus, when a cobra came and bit him and latched itself on his arm. Paul shook the cobra back into the fire, carried on, no swelling, nothing. The people were impressed and started calling Paul a god. Paul would have none of that, though, and stated that he was a man just like them, and that it was all God's doing. Very important lesson there. God doesn't share his glory. All worship and praise goes to him. Another point to be made is that these abilities were at God's discretion and served his purposes. They were not to be given as parlor tricks because they claimed this promise or that promise. You know, you see that in some false prophets will, you know, come see the signs and miracles, but in the Bible it says these signs will follow those. The word would be preached first, and then signs would follow according to God's discretion. There's another example, kind of a different thing, where John is transported and time traveled into heaven at least 2,000 years to the end of this age, and was given the ability to write the book of Revelation. He was also displayed some invulnerability because he was boiled in oil, according to legend, and he did not die from it. He died years later in Ephesus. Now, the last example I'll refer to is the time Peter actually walked on the water towards Jesus. Peter was impulsive at times, you know, ready, fire, aim, Peter. He only opened his mouth to change feet, but one characteristic about him, he was very brave. He was the only disciple brave enough to ask Jesus to allow him to come out on the water. He did so until he took his eyes off Jesus and looked down at his circumstances. As we look to fulfill Jesus' commandments and leading, we can accomplish an even greater miracle, and that's leading someone to Christ, or at least planting the seed in their life. Links I've got below, and may God richly bless you.